Hello everyone. So in this video tutorial, I'm going to try to get you from 0 to hero in less than 30 minutes for editing roofs in the model editor. This is a new feature, or the announcement is new. We have been working on this for several months now, testing it with many models. But finally it feels ready for more people to use it. So what's really happening now is you have probably seen this before, that when you have a model that comes out of Revit Model Editor, you get levels, rooms, and then you get roofs here. So far, roofs have been only like you could have only seen them like basically they get solved with your model, but you couldn't do much if the roof wasn't exported correctly. Then you had to go to Rhino to try to fix it. Now you don't have to. We have a series of commands here that helps you see, visualize the roof, understand the issue, and fix them. We also have a series of them here to help you. So I'll start from the most basic one, is that you export the model and then you try to visualize it and you see, oh, I see the roofs here, but I don't see them in the 3D preview. One thing is now you can just visualize the roofs. And this is the difference, right? The preview for the model is here. There is another one for preview roofs. So if I click on that, it shows me the roof geometry before being solved against the rooms. Why is it useful? It's useful because the real life models are not like this, right? Because you have so many faces. And first you start where you start, and I will show a real life model at the second part of this video. Is you want to get a sense of how they look like, and maybe like, you know, there's some on top of each other you want to pick and delete and all those stuff. So that's why it's useful, and you can see them. So that's the first thing you want to do. Then if the roofs are showing up and the room is not solving the roof, most likely it's because the rooms are not set to be top exposed. What does this mean? The way pollination works is it takes each room and then it checks to see if the top is exposed. In this case, for example, all the rooms on the second level are top exposed. So I selected all of them and selected top exposed. If you don't see them separated like the one that I have, probably the story is not clicked here, so you can group them by story if you want. So then it goes and it checks the rooms that are top exposed, like for example, right now, any roof, any of them on the second floor are like that. And it tries to look and see if there is any roof faces on top. So if it finds a roof face, it tries to solve it for you. So if it doesn't, it just extrude it as much as the room elevation is. So let me do that. Let's select this and now do a new preview after setting top exposed. And now you see that the roof is solved for all this. So what's happened is it basically goes, checks, and says, oh, there is a roof on top. So let me try to solve it. And we expect this to just solve the roof, whatever it is. Sometimes you need to do some cleanup, you know, the roof is up and down. But we have worked with many messy models, and our expectation is just it shows you some roof for the starting point. If it doesn't, share it with us, and then we look into it and see what might be going on. So that should be the good starting point. So what's not great about this is that it does the roof, but then it doesn't keep the rest of it for shading, right? It just removes the whole thing. So until now, there was no way to fix this in the model editor. Now you can fix that. Before I do that, let me do a quick cleanup here. I'm going to use this thing here, and I'm going to align all the rooms and roofs all the way to the end using the align command. So one thing that now is happening that we didn't have before is now you can also align the roofs. Not only the rooms, but also the roof. So if there are areas that are not covered with the roof and you need them to be covered, then you can use these alignments. I'll talk more about it when I deal with this room down here. For now, let's forget about that room. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go here and turn off everything, both rooms and roofs in the first level, and I'm going to work on the second level. So what I need to do is to separate the part of the roof that are shade versus the parts that are covering the rooms. To do that, I'm going to select all the rooms here, and then I'm going to generate boundary around it, create a boundary, exclude holes, and I'm going to use this boundary, which is this one here, to split this roof. And I'm going to select this again and split this one. So this is the same split command that you use for the rooms. Now you can use it for the roof. So now you can see there is one here, there is another one here. If I select everything and visualize the roofs, you see now the roofs are basically split into smaller pieces. Now what I can do, I can select this, and there is a command here called roof to shade. And I'm going to do the same here for this one. So now if I select them and do a preview, you'll see that the roof stays as roof and then the rest are shade. I mean, of course you don't have to do it like this, a small shade. I don't know how much of a difference it makes. We could have like drawn a split line here and just split it here, right? But now you can see these two are now showing up as shade. So this is the roof to shade command that we have here. And now when I select them, they're shade, they're not roofs anymore. So I covered like why the roof may not show up. I also covered how to break it down to between having roof and shades. Now let's go to the first level and deal with something that usually happens again. I'm going to hide the second level here for a second. And I'm going to, for first level, make it visible both the rooms and the roofs. I'm also going to hide shades for now, so I don't have to deal with them, so you can have a better idea. This is that boundary that I used to split the face. I'm going to delete that. So for the case of this room, you'll see that you have the room and you have the roof here. If I just preview it, you'll see that the roof doesn't show up by default. By now you should know why, because it's not set to top exposed. So let's go here and change it to be top exposed. Now if I visualize it again, I'll see this. I see that, okay, now it is changed to a roof. The way I know it is because of the color, right? The color was the ceiling before. But it's not all the rooms stops where the roof is. Some of them goes higher. The reason this is happening, and this is by design, I changed the number for this error to happen, is because this room, really the height of this room should be 2.7, but I have put 3 here. So what really happens is the roof geometry is at 2.7. It comes all the way here. It finds the area that's covered with the roof, which is this. And then for the rest of it, it says, okay, there is no roof here. Continue extrusion. It goes all the way up to the number that you have here, which in this case is 3 meter. Just maybe to make it more clear, let me change this to 6 meters, and then you'll see what happens. So now if I select this again and do a preview, you'll see what happens. It goes all the way. So if you start seeing something like this, that's why it's happening. It's because the roof is not fully covering the whole room. So how do you fix this? There are 2 ways for fixing this. One is the lazy way, that you just say this is a horizontal roof, right? It doesn't really, I don't really need to solve it. I just delete it. So now if I do this, preview, select this in preview, you see it goes all the way to 3, which is the number that I put here, and just stops there. And because this top is exposed, it knows it's a roof segment. The other way is to clean it up. Why, I don't really know. For this case, I would delete it. But if you want to clean it up, maybe I just use it as an opportunity to show you some of the editing features that we have. So one is, as I mentioned, you can now align roof. So I can create an alignment line, select the roof, and hold down Shift, select the alignment line, and that's it to cover that. The other one is, and be careful when you use this, but you can actually drag the endpoints and snap it to the endpoints if you want. So I can do that too. Now if I select and preview, everything should look fine. And now you can see for this part of the room, the roof is partially covering this room, but because the room is not set to is top exposed, it doesn't try to solve it against the roof. So it doesn't affect, this roof is not affecting this hall room at all. Okay, that basically does it for this model. Let me go back and turn on everything here, visible, visible, and show shades. So now we have a model that has the whole roofs fixed, and now we have the split here between the two, so you can see this part is modeled as a shade and is kept in the model. So now we all wish the real-life models were as simple as this one, but they're not. So this is part of a real model that we received, and this model has, you know, roofs that are intersecting. You can see it, the rooms are clean, and it generally speaking does a decent job, but then when it comes to here, it doesn't give you what you expect. So if I go and just visualize the roofs, you'll see how the geometry looks like. It's really like, this is what it meant to be. This is supposed to be that roof, and then the rooms are supposed to go all the way there. But what really happens is, because the way they have modeled the geometry, they didn't try to intersect the roofs. Again, remember, Revit is for documentation, and it looks fine in documentation to just leave it as is. That I'm just saying, don't complain to architects because of that. But this is not what we want, right? So what happens is Pollination goes and then hits this roof in the bottom, and then solves it against that, and it doesn't consider this part on top. So how do we solve that? The way to solve that is to find the intersection between these roofs and then split the roof here. So this part in the middle, this part here, is not going to cover the room anymore, so the room goes all the way to the other one. So that's why we have the other commands that we have out there. So the way it works is, and one other thing that probably I should mention here is there is a gap here too. It's not like this is really touching this. So we can do a split quickly. So we can't do that. So the first thing that we need to do is to find the intersection between this roof and these two. When I select three roofs, you can see the command shows up. It's called find roof intersection. I just click on it and it finds the roof intersection here for me. You can see this one and this one, so it goes here. Lucky enough, this roof is modeled at least good enough that the intersection happens in the right place. We have seen models that the intersection goes all the way up, in a way like goes the other side, because they haven't do the Z correctly in the model. In those cases, unfortunately, you have to go to Rhino to do that fix. That's something that we haven't exposed in the model editor yet, and I'll show you the Rhino workflow at the end of this video, so to know that. But for this, we can solve it here. So now that I have these lines, remember from the first video, I can use alignment to align, or I can do the thing that I said, use it carefully. So I can basically select the roof and move it. This is easy enough that I just select and move. And now we have good snapping for the endpoints. So you'll see that. The next thing I want to do is, let me delete this guidelines here. The next thing I need to do is to select this. So now the intersection has happened. Maybe let me do a preview so you can see what happens. So now these roofs are meeting each other, but this part still is here, hasn't been removed. So to remove that, I'm going to select this first, select this one second and third. And then I'm going to use the command up here, subtract roofs. This is similar to subtract rooms, but works for the roofs, right? So now that I do that, it subtracts the roofs from the one that I selected first. Now if I select these three and do another preview, probably we should keep the angle of the preview the same, but now you can see what really happens here. So you get a clean intersection there. That means if I select this and do a preview, now this is really what the roof needs to be. I think it's very nice. Now we can do the same thing here on this side, right? Do the intersection and everything. But I have found this, that people who know Rhino are much less patient about doing these workflows in Model Editor. And that's fine, I understand. It might be faster to do it in Rhino, particularly when the model gets more complicated. That's also an option. So the way that works is you can go here under roofs and export the roofs as an HPJSON file. So I click here, it's called Model 123 HPJSON. Now I can go to Rhino, open this. No. So what happens is it takes all the roofs and it exports them as shades, right? And for the rooms, it also includes the floors for you so you can see them. Why this is useful? Because now you can start editing this inside Rhino. I'm not going to cover it here. If you don't know Rhino, then you basically need to project this and then split this face and do all that. Once you make any fixes, you can basically save this as an HPJSON file, come back here and import it, and then once you import it, you can replace the current roof. So you can use this as a workflow to take the model to Rhino for editing roof, do all the roof editings, add missing parts to the roof if you want, because as long as they're shade objects, they will be imported as roofs back, and then bring them back and continue doing everything else in the model editor. Before I finish this video, I just want to talk about the other features that we have here, the three options. One is we have dealt with models that have many roofs like meeting each other in one point, and then it's harder than what I had here to figure out what are the issues. So we have a command similar to the one that we have for the roofs, for the rooms, to find the small gaps. So you can say, show me any places that there are small gaps between the roofs. And excuse me, this command does that. We have an automated cleanup roof geometry. I suggest you not use this. We put it in initially when we started. So what it does, it tries to remove roof overlaps. For example, if it finds there are roofs on top of each other, it can remove them. It can be useful, but it can also be something that basically removes your original geometry, so make things hard. So let me show you how. Remember, for this part, we have three roofs on top of each other, right? There's one and there are two on top. So if I run this command for resolving overlap, what the command does, it identifies, it detects the overlap in this area, and then what it does, it goes and removes the parts that are overlapped from the roofs on top. Let me run it. Now you see what happens. So this and this are not gone because they had an overlap with this. So you want to be really, really, really careful when you use that. Just don't go ahead and run it without understanding what it does. So I Control Z. The only way to get it back is Control Z. So when it's gone, then things can get really hard for editing. So that's this. We have this item here that shows you the tilt. So you can quickly see, this is helpful when you have, again, like many faces and you want to see which ones are horizontal, quickly, what's the slope for each roof. You can use this one, and I've already talked about the import and export. Let me give a pause and then share an image. I just wanted to show an example of a larger projects that we basically use the same techniques that I showed here to resolve the whole thing. So if you have models like this and you see some of the rooms don't get solved, it's still our first release, even though we have been testing this maybe now for 6 months. So there might be cases. We are interested to check the model and try to fix them. For this particular model, the only thing that we could not be doing in the model editor was moving the roof. So the roofs, unfortunately, they were not in the same height. They were passing each other. So we had to go to Rhino, just move them down so they have the same Z in the same height, so they intersect correctly. And then everything else was doable here. We might add a command for adjusting Z, or basically moving the roofs without changing the plane for these kind of cases. But generally speaking, it should be very capable, and it should cover most of your models. Again, the goal is for you to be able to solve any geometry-related issues in the model editor. So when you leave the model editor to start running your simulation, you shouldn't worry about anything geometry-related, including the roofs. Thank you so much for watching, and let us know if you have any questions. The best place to ask your questions is Pollination Discourse, which is discourse.pollination.solutions. Thank you so much.